Welcome to the Poke It podcast with me, Pete Jenkins, and my co-host, Nicola Cairncross. In the show, we'll be getting deeply interested in everything and everyone, including business and entrepreneurship, investing, crypto, great films, books, and sci-fi, served up with great food and wine, and a little bit of gamification, and the odd guest thrown in for good measure. You can join in the conversation anytime at the Poke It podcast private group on Facebook. Now, let's see what we're going to be poking at today, shall we? To this week's episode of the Poke It podcast with me, Pete Jenkins, and my colleague Nicola Cairncross.
Hey! Too busy to blow dry, hashtag.
Oh, okay. To be fair, I don't think I've ever owned a hairdryer.
Marvellous men. You have it. So lucky. So a new background. Where are you today?
I'm just in the conservatory today.
Oh, okay. Well, it seems like quite a big gap over there.
It's good, isn't it? It's a nice map behind me.
All
the places I could have travelled.
Sure. If we weren't, anyway, we won't say the L word as much as possible. Are they hula hoops behind you?
They are hula hoops.
Ah.
So Jess was the person who taught me how to hula hoop at the beginning of the first lockdown.
You're so going to have to give me a demonstration.
It's not happening today. I'm out of practice. Also, these ones, I can't do it with these ones. I have to do it with a bigger hoop.
Why is that? They feel taller?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fascinating physics going on there.
Indeed. It is physics, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is. We'd have to Google that, though, wouldn't we? Because I bet you don't know the details. Yet.
Yes. So what have you been up to? Come on.
Oh my God. I think this is possibly the most exciting week in my life, apart from the week I got married and the weeks I had my kid.
Okay, so third most exciting week.
Possibly the week I drove across America as well. So let's make it the fourth.
Okay, tell us about it.
Well,
what have you been up to?
It was all really boring, wasn't it, over the weekend? I found it really boring anyway. But then Monday, I woke up to the Dollar Vigilante, who I follow quite nicely. He lives in Mexico at the moment, travels around a lot and invests in crypto, and has a video that he puts out. The first 10 minutes is a bit, what's the word, vanilla, because it has to go onto YouTube because he's been censored obviously from YouTube, and the rest of it goes onto BitChute. And he was talking about the grand reopening, or the great reopening, which is happening this Saturday. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of British shopkeepers, restaurateurs and bar owners getting together to just open up.
What, like a mass rebellion?
Yeah, well, it's a peaceful mass rebellion. They're just opening their little shops because the big shops are open, so why shouldn't the little shops be? And inspired by the Italian restaurateurs, 50,000 of them opened up and are still open, in fact. And then there are other people in Austria and places like that have done it as well. So obviously we're not hearing any of this on the mainstream media. So I'm looking forward to seeing who in Shoreham opens up, and I will be going to spend money just to support them. And then it got even more exciting.
More exciting than food.
No, yeah, I'm afraid so, money. So the next thing that happened was on Tuesday, the rumours started to go about this subreddit called WallStreeBets, which I'm sure you know all about.
I've read up on it.
Yes, I read up on it. Anyway, so the kids started asking me about it, and other people, and so I went and had because I don't really use Reddit that much. I have got a membership, but I don't use it. And it was fascinating. Basically, what they'd done was they twigged that there were certain stocks that were being shorted heavily by the big hedge funds and pension funds and things like that. Yeah. So that means that it was artificially keeping the price down. So they picked.
I've noticed that in the past on stocks.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be. I don't think it's illegal, but what's happening now is somehow they've wangled it so they can short more stocks than the company actually owns, which is definitely illegal.
It's always been possible.
Yeah, but it's not. And also the thing is, it keeps stock prices down, which isn't great. Anyway, so this is a British stock, isn't it? Gamestop, it's called.
No, I think it's US. But
is it okay? So they brought in
a British subsidiary or something.
Yeah. So there's two founders. They brought in a marketing person. He started sort of saying they were going to be the next Amazon. So everyone started getting a bit excited about the stocks, but they were being shorted heavily, so they didn't move. So the subreddit WallStreeBets decided to all get together, and apparently there are like 2 million of them.
Yeah, it's the numbers that make a difference.
Yeah. So even if they could only afford one of these stocks, they all went en masse this week to buy this stock. I think it might even have been the tail end of last week. And
I think it started in December, if you read back.
Okay, all right.
And it's been building and building.
You know me in details, Pete. You hold my feet to the fire on the details.
Okay, I'll do that. Torture it is.
And anyway, the stock started to explode, and the short positions that the hedge funds had to be covered, and I think they were coming to an end this week or something, and they had to be covered, which made the hedge funds have to buy more at the current high price. And it went up something like, was it 200% in 24 hours?
It was a big amount. And that was with 9 stock exchange pauses because it was moving so crazy.
Yes. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? So the stock exchange pause the trading when the hedge fund's losing money, but they don't pause the trading when anyone else is losing money. So
no, it's when there's a massive movement, either up or down.
Yeah.
And it's only about a 15-minute pause or something.
You can tell Pete is the voice of reason here. I'm highly excitable, but he's the voice of reason. And then what happened? Oh, it started getting in the news, and everyone started wading in, and everyone started saying, of course, Bitcoin's the answer to this. And it got even more exciting when they went for ACB. That was the next one. That's
AMC. I think.
AMC even, yes, details. What AMC is something games AMC.
I don't remember the rest. I just know it's AMC.
Okay, I think it's either a gaming company or a video company. So they're picking shares that they know about, because a lot of the people in this subreddit are gamers. And that started to go. And then someone's been doing quite a lot of research in there, because there's 3 threads about silver and how silver is the biggest shorted market of all, how that's been artificially held down for years by JP Morgan, who have just paid a fine that was just short of $1 billion
for market manipulation.
Yes, exactly. And if they're paying a fine happily of $1 billion, how much profit have they made over the last 25 years? So yes, for silver started to move literally as we got on our rational thought call yesterday. Don't know why they let me in, but they do. It started to go up dramatically, and so did all the silver miners. And I've got quite a few, me and the kids have got silver miners in our SIP, including things like First Majestic and all that stuff. So they started to move before silver started to move, but then silver started to move, and we were on a call for 2 hours. And by the time we got, all hell was breaking loose in a good way. Mainstream media were reporting on it negatively, obviously. And it just got more and more exciting. And I went to bed last night with I thought I was in a trade on Bitcoin, and I thought, I better get out of this, and bought back into Bitcoin. Thank God. And I went to bed about 1 o'clock, and Anthony Pompliano had been on NB. I can never remember the initials.
NCNBC or something.
That's it. NB.
CNCBC. So
one of their news channels.
Some initials, yeah.
And he had tweeted, and in his lunchtime thing called Lunch Money, he does a 10-minute thing with his wife on Lunch Money called Lunch Money on YouTube, and he said, I'm really going to let them have it tonight. So I was waiting for that recording to come out, and it didn't disappoint. It was great. And in the meantime, Bitcoin's starting to go up. Nobody knows why. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, Elon Musk changed his Twitter handle, his Twitter bio, to just one word. And guess
Bitcoin.
what it was? Yeah. So he's bought in now, which is just so exciting, because it just exposes it to so many people. And this week coming, Michael Saylor, who is the CEO of MicroStrategy that we're all very keen on, he's hosting his virtual Bitcoin conference for all of the CEOs and business leaders in America and the UK, I suppose, and even Europe. They'll probably let them in as well, who want to start holding Bitcoin in their balance sheets. And he's going to
do it.
He's going to reveal his entire playbook on how to do it. It's just the most exciting week ever for me. I'm such a nerd, aren't I?
The only thing I'm going to say is I agree silver is shorted, But my reading of it is it's such a massive market that I think even with like 2 million private investors, it may
It's
not be
tiny.
enough.
Pete, it's tiny market. Silver compared with gold, and then gold
No,
compared with
it's the size of the number of players in it, of the institutions. What was interesting about the share was the sheer limited number of shares available.
Yeah, but
whereas silver, it's much bigger and broader.
Yes, only if they're buying paper though. If they start to buy the physical gold, there was already shortages before Christmas. In fact, there was a shortage of physical bullion last August, and every quarter they have to. Some people can take. It's called taking delivery. If they've bought a big order of, say for example, they're making they're using it in solar panels or they're using it in cars or whatever. People order bullion in advance, and then they often don't take delivery of it straight away, but people are starting to take delivery of it because it's getting more and more scarce. The silver that's above ground, not yet mined, is getting more and more scarce. So people are starting to take delivery, and there's been rumors every quarter. And in fact, if you search COMEX silver shortage on YouTube, you'll find people like Alistair McLeod talking about the shortage of it and how they're actually quite convinced the numbers are being fiddled there as well. So if there's a shortage and people start taking delivery, and more like 2 million people start to pile in and buy physical silver, whether they're just buying a gold or silver coin from bullion by post, or whether they're buying, you know, an ounce on a bullion exchange, it's just going to topple the whole thing over. This whole thing of shorting it to keep the price low. People are saying that the price of silver should be around $600, and it's actually
what is it?
$26. And it made yesterday. It was really interesting because silver made a little jump, and also gold made a little jump by association. And then they firmly were stamped down again back to the previous price. But they've both started to rise again today. So that's an extremely interesting area to.
I'm going to be watching it with interest.
Have you got any?
No, yeah, I've got gold miners, funnily enough, so I'll only get a little bit of.
Yeah, a bit of action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if anyone's watching this and they've got a SIP, self-administered pension fund, it might be worth buying. You know, obviously this isn't financial advice, and you must always take the advice of your accountant and or a reputable, qualified professional.
God's sakes, don't take our advice on this.
No. But it might be fun to have a little punt by looking at some of your portfolio and seeing what's not doing so well and putting a bit into some of the silver miners. You can just Google silver mining stocks and find out what they are, the big ones. There's one where the CEO is on YouTube quite a lot, talking to people like what's his name? Oh, his name's gone completely out of my head. Peter Schiff and also Mike Maloney. They're the two big gold and silver guys. Also, Kiyosaki's had a lot of good people on. Robert Kiyosaki on his radio show, which is on YouTube. So, what have you been up to this week, Pete?
Well, obviously not as exciting as that, you know. Although it's been fun watching those things.
Yeah.
What do I start with? Last night I did my first online Zumba class.
No, you're joking. And how did you find it?
The first 10 minutes were sheer horror, but I got into it.
It's dancing, isn't it? Some sort of dancing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Why did you find it horrible the first 10 minutes?
Because I hate following someone else's moves, because you've no idea what they're going to do next. You lose track. But when you soon realise that it's not about that, it's just about attempting it and having fun doing it.
Were you laughing as well? Because that's
after the first 10 minutes. Till that point, I was a bit like,
I got the distinct impression you talked into this.
Oh yeah.
Oh dear, we got some people watching, which is nice. Do share your comments about anything we're talking about, or ask any questions, and we'll come to them as we appropriately break. What else you been up to then, apart from flailing about in your living room?
Every few weeks we draw a country out of a jar. We got a jar with like 200 all the countries of the world in, and then have a themed night. So, because we can't travel in reality, we'll travel in our minds. Yeah. First time we did that was really easy. It was Italy. You know, that was great. But this last week we did Lesotho night.
What?
Lesotho night. So we had to find some Lesotho food, drink,
I've never heard of this country. Where is it?
Well, it's a landlocked country in the middle of South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we had to find food, drink, a film, a music playlist, that sort of
I
thing.
love this idea. I've got to tell you, it looks really good.
So yeah, we found a good film. The first film they ever made, maybe the only film they've made in Lesotho, but it turns out to be a good one. And
What's the food?
the food, we went for chakalaka, which is like a fairly easy to make, slightly spicy vegetarian dish for the most part.
Okay.
And we had that with samp, which is like a carb.
Okay.
And that was a little bit of a learn. Yeah, so I mean, I was describing it a bit like rice pudding, but savoury, you know. So, and we got this quick cook samp, but then and didn't think much of it until the evening we were cooking it, and then looked at the packet, and even the quick cook samp was 90 minutes.
Oh, right. It didn't require overnight soaking or anything like that, though.
Because this was pre-cooked, you needed less of that. So there was 20 minutes of soaking prep,
Okay.
then 90 minutes of cooking.
What, to get all the stones out?
Just to make it the right texture, I think, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we ate quite late.
And you quite enjoyed it. What drink did you have to accompany it?
The closest we found was the most popular South African brand of beer that they drink in Lesotho. So I found a place online.
Oh, it was quite authentic then, all round.
Yeah, ordered that. It's called Hansa beer. We had a few of those, and then, funnily enough, halfway through, for some reason, someone noticed the best before date was passed on the beer. I thought, that's a shame. Wouldn't it be funny if the samp was past its best before date? Oh, yes, it is as well.
Well, you're still here to tell the tale, though, so you haven't.
Still here to tell and got a nice refund online. There you go.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So we lived through it, and
so what have you been up to work-wise?
Work-wise, yesterday was a good day because I did this a webinar to a bunch of HR people in India, based out of Bangalore, but they were from all over.
Yeah.
And that went really well. It was good fun. I think it's been a couple of weeks since I did something like that, so it's nice to broaden the audience once more. And I spent a little bit of time following last week's episodes, looking a bit more into crowdfunding property.
Oh, now we're talking.
Because I don't really want to buy my own place and deal with all the hassle. So I was looking at crowdfunding equity and property and different ways to do that.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely am interested in that. That's for sure.
So yeah, I mean, why not just get like £500 here, €500 there into properties around the place? I'm very tempted to go through the site I found that invests in Moldova and Latvia and places.
Moldova, isn't that one? Hang on, were we talking about that last week? Was that one? Or hang on, I think it's one of the places that's recommended for
wine, definitely.
No, it's recommended by the Nomad Capitalist, isn't it?
Yeah, up and coming property and stuff.
Yeah.
So don't fly there and buy your own property and go through all the hassle. Why not invest through a crowdfunding site where you're doing it with 100 other people? That's what I was thinking.
Well, also it spreads the risk nicely, doesn't it? So if you're into 20 sort of projects for 500 quid to 1,000, it's better than putting 20,000 into one project.
That's what I was thinking. So, and what I don't have in my portfolio at the moment is any property.
Yeah.
So I was looking at ways to spread the risk and still balance it out a bit. You do need a varied portfolio, don't you?
Yeah, I've been dipping in and out of quite a few property rooms on Clubhouse recently. Just to try and sort of work, because obviously I've got some friends who are super property investors, but they're all selling. But there's quite a lot of property investors that do these crowdfunding things, and I think it would be interesting. So I'm just trying to work out who the good guys are. Obviously, there's Progressive Property. I don't know if they do anything like that. I'm sure they do.
The ones I've liked so far, I like the model, is crowdfunding site might put together like 100 investors to buy a property. They buy the property, do it up, and wrap it all into one standalone company vehicle.
Okay, so you own shares in the company.
Yeah, and then you get paid. Your rent gets paid as dividends.
Nice.
It's coming out of a company, so that makes it really interesting.
I like this idea a lot because they've got 100 people to be accountable to.
Yes.
Or to run away from, would depend.
Yeah.
Depending on how scrupulous they are.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What kind of returns can one expect from an investment like that?
So I was looking at one in the UK. The returns seem to be between like 6 and 10%, depending on where you buy and what you do, and after the costs and things. And the Europe ones more like 8 to 15%,
Oh,
depending on the type of
okay.
loans. Yeah, so it's slightly more interesting. But some of them are like, there's a few more developments, so they might be 50% of the way there and then borrowing a bit to finish it off, rather than
Okay.
buying a place that exists. So I would say slightly riskier, but smaller amounts.
So one could set up a company in one of those countries like Moldova, which was solely focused on investing in property in Europe.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm liking that idea. Cool. And what else? Anything else this week?
Well, it's just the usual. Apart from that, doing some work.
Work increasingly hard to fit in, I find.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you about my walking machine.
Oh, has it arrived?
Well, I ordered it, as you know, last week, and I was quite excited for its arrival on Monday. It arrived right in the middle of a webinar, obviously, and yeah, as they always do.
At the moment.
Big box. My God, I had to leave it downstairs because I couldn't lift it. My arms turned to little springs of spaghetti when I tried. So Phoebe, and our lovely cleaning lady, who's fit as a butcher's dog, as you know, helped Phoebe drag it up the stairs. She's very fit, impressively so. And I got it all out. No, I didn't. I left it till the evening, and then I got it all out. And I found that for about half an hour, I was trying to puzzle out a bit that seemed to be missing. And then I had to wheel Nelson in and say, yes, to confirm that, yes, this bit was actually missing and I wasn't imagining it. And it's the bit that holds, because it's a foldable thing, and it's the bit that holds it when it opens.
Oh, to make it actually stable.
Yes, it's called the security lock.
Yeah,
So
you shouldn't do it without that.
No, that's what I thought. So I then had to get onto Amazon, because it wasn't an Amazon Prime thing, it was fulfilled by Amazon. So now I have to go through the thing of contact. I'm hoping they can just pop one in the post for me. I don't really want to have to package the whole bloody thing up again, drag it down. I mean, the post office will be deeply unhappy if I turn up with that big heavy parcel. They won't like that at all. So yes, a bit of a disappointment, that one. So I was hoping to have got 5 days worth of walking while listening to Clubhouse.
But not yet.
No, not yet.
You've just reminded me that I had a similar thing with Amazon about a week ago. I'd bought a new table just to have another position to work from.
Yeah.
And it was slightly damaged on one corner. So I took a picture. It was delivered by Amazon from Amazon Marketplace type thing. And they sent back, you can return it, but obviously you have to pay for the return.
Yeah.
Or we could give you a 10% refund.
Refund, definitely.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, all right, I'll take the refund. They somehow misread that and went, well, we're very sorry. In that case, you can have a 20% refund. So I was like, okay, I'll have that then.
Okay. Oh, that's a result, wasn't it? What an abundant week we've had.
But wait, and then they sent me 20% more than the 20% discount. So 20%.
No. What, the seller is this? Oh my God. They're not going to stay.
Okay, whatever.
They're not going to stay this long like that, are they? Doubling the discounts and then paying 20% more on top.
Yeah, just for fun. It was very nice.
Yeah. Well, that is if they did it on purpose. If they did
I don't think they did.
No. Cool. Okay, so following on from our brief property discussion there, we're going to be talking about investing in properties, because you've been doing quite a lot of
businesses.
Businesses, that's right. Sorry. I was just thinking about something else entirely then. So you've been doing quite a lot of investigations on this, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm interested in this. I don't know. I've been inspired by a bit more passive income generation. Yes. And how to spread it around, particularly in different countries as well, to spread the risk geographically. Yeah. And rather than set up a business abroad, I was like, well, why can't I just invest in one?
That's a good idea.
So one of the things I haven't quite got to grips with yet is equity crowdfunding and the different sites for doing that. So that's still on the list of things to investigate. So because it'd be good to, spread the risk across 50 different businesses, just like we were just talking about in property.
I went to meet the founder of Angel List, who's a British guy. And I'm pretty convinced that they do something like that, a equity crowdfunding thing. If not, they will certainly know who does. Now, it was quite an interesting entrepreneur who ran that. Now, let me think. Oh, here we go. Join our crowd. Oh, here we go. Invest.ourcrowd.com. Let's have a look. Angel list. Angel.co. Yes, United Kingdom Angel Investors. Is that them? No, that seems to be Angel.co seems to be.
So my issue with it, when
Yeah.
you're going to passive investing, passive income generation, is that most equity investments are around investing for growth as opposed to income. So finding the ones that are more about monthly income, for instance, or quarterly income, is quite hard.
Yeah.
Whereas with the property crowdfunding, some of it is just growth, but a lot of it is focused on renting and income every month.
Yeah. The I've just found it. It's Angel List. Last year, Angel List syndicates invested over 100 million in US startups, and it's hoped that this UK launch will be the harbinger of greater angel involvements in UK startup. That's actually not who I was thinking of, but that's definitely worth looking at. Included is the highly respected Robin Klein, venture partner at Index Ventures and investor in Zoopla, Forward Partners, investor in Halo, and Seed Camp investors in TransferWise. So there seem to be quite serious players involved in that.
Need to be to get up to those figures.
Yes, quite. But that's not the people I was thinking of. So I'll find that chap and forward it on to you, because he struck me as a really solid bloke. Yeah. We actually went up to his house to meet him.
So that's one aspect. And then, of course, what we've been chatting about in the past week is buying a whole business off the shelf.
Which I'm very keen on the idea of. Because
we found some interesting ones, didn't we, when we were having a look?
You did. I'm absolutely shit at research. Honestly, if it was down to me, I'd spend 5 minutes on Google, and if I can't find it immediately, that's the end of the story for me. I don't know what it is. I just cannot do it. It just bores and frustrates me. But you found some good ones.
Yeah. So what did we started by looking at what do we call it? Shopify sites. So people build Shopify businesses, and then they've often built 2 or 3, as far as I can tell. And then they sell them, the ones that they're not keen on, or the ones that they're not as passionate about, because sometimes the product is pretty boring.
Yeah.
So there's different reasons for it. And what I liked about the site, because you can scroll through and see all the ones for sale, is it pulls in the actual Shopify data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see the true picture of number of visits, transactions, seasonality, things like that.
My friend Neil has got 1,500 plus Amazon store holders in his mentoring thing. It just occurred to me it might be worth introducing you to, because he must know people who've got to a certain stage with their businesses and then don't want to continue with them. So that might be worth an introduction.
I've got a feeling there might be another site for looking for Amazon type businesses.
Yeah.
What I did to find the interesting ones, by the way, was I then filtered by drop shipping.
Okay.
We didn't want to hold our own stock.
No, we definitely don't want to hold our own stock. I've had some of Neil's stuff in my garage before, with Phoebe packing it up and sending it out.
Yeah. So you don't want to do that.
No. So I know you found an interesting one you shared with me, which I didn't see until I swapped into Telegram. But tell us a few of the ones you came across that you're not thinking of buying, but you found interesting.
Well, some were too big for a first risk, an experiment. Okay. Yeah, so they might be showing really good traction. I mean, there was one that was $500,000 a year turnover.
Wow.
And they want like $70,000 for it.
There's something wrong with that.
Well, no, actually, I could see why. It's because you need a lot of cash flow to do the AdWords side of it. So
doesn't the AdWords expenditure come from the income though?
It does, but you kind of need to kickstart it and boost it. And if they're running another site or two, then you're going to hit like growth issues and cash flow issues.
Yeah.
And also, the more transactions, the more you've got to sort out your customer service processes. Yeah, there's always questions on there.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if you own it even if the only thing you have to do each time is then refer to the drop shipper, it's still a thing that takes time.
Surely that could be automated. You could
some of it could.
Yeah, surely that.
This is what you'd want to do and investigate and make it run smoother, wouldn't you?
Yeah, with all our knowledge of automation and marketing and
exactly
social media and stuff.
So I mean, that looks really nice, but I am not an e-commerce specialist, so I would rather experiment on something smaller.
Yeah, and drop shipping is definitely. I remember I got very excited about drop shipping back in the middle noughties, as they are known. 2003, 2004, 2005. I remember I got very excited about drop shipping. I was looking for luxury bed linen drop shipping, as I recall, Egyptian cotton, a 300 thread count and stuff like that.
Actually, one of the sites I found was really interesting, which was French fashion. Okay, so it was purely everything was in French, and it was very cool products. They got great imagery, and in essence, they just needed help to take it international, and they didn't really want to do that bit. And I was like,
that's quite interesting. I actually bought bedinabag.com. I know what it was. My friend Marlene used to go to America all the time, and her beds always looked fabulous in her houses because she had, the whole matching set and the hundreds of cushions in toning colours and things. And I said, what is that called when, you get these incredible bed linen sets? She says, bed in a bag, they call it in America. So I bought bedinabag.com and set about trying to find a drop shipper. But again, the research side of it let me down. I need to pay
10 minutes later.
Yeah. I'll buy the domain name in 2 minutes flat and then give up on the research. But I pay people to do my research now if I need research doing, because I simply can't do it. But
it's always good to know your weaknesses and work around them.
Yeah. And I've done the wealth dynamics test. Have you ever done that?
A long time ago, I think. But I would say I probably come out on it differently now. So.
Yes, you do as you change as an entrepreneur. But it definitely. Oh no, what was the one? It was the Colby test. Have you ever done that one? That's about your preferred method of taking action.
Oh, I think my preferred mission is not to take any action.
So that makes you a slow starter. I'm a quick start. I'm 9 on the quick start, and there's four things. There's a quick start, follow through, research, and I can't even remember the other one. But I came out as a 9 on the quick start and about 2 or 3 on all the other 3. Because unless I can get moving fast and get momentum going, I go off the boil very quickly. Whereas
that's really interesting. That's one of the things I noticed about some of the businesses for sale, is that they'd done the fun bit, the quick start bit, and didn't really want to do the rest.
Yeah.
So that strikes me as there's like an ongoing business possibility there.
Yeah.
Which is just to be that person that takes them on to the next stage.
And then perhaps sells them on once you've raised the problem.
Yeah. Why not? Because maybe you don't want to do it long term either.
No.
Maybe you want to do the next bit and then.
Nice, and then sell it on. Very cool. Because there's lots of people out there, really lots of people out there now looking for businesses. And if you could really establish a good ethic of buying businesses that have got a chance, and then improving the cash flow and the profit and the automation and the marketing, there is a market out there for people looking for that stuff.
Yeah, I think so. And some of these businesses as well were created by students to finance their way through American universities.
Yes.
And they've put loads of time and effort into it, now got a proper job.
Yes.
And they're like, don't have time.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. So what else have you found then? What really caught your eye apart from the one that we were actually looking at?
Well, there was this French fashion one.
Yeah, that sounds good.
What was unfortunate was some of them don't tell you what the product is.
Well, I mean, they're not. How can you even remotely tell if you're interested in them? Because I'm not interested in getting involved in anything I'm not interested in. That's my other failing as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's all right though, because you want to know, you want to be interested enough to learn stuff about the product yourself. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. Or to see a different route to market. I mean, the one you did show me, I could immediately see, given that there's a massive trend for something happening in Britain at the moment, I could immediately see how you could build a whole social media persona and profile and following around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was interesting was so many of these businesses were just powered by throwing tons of money at ads.
Ads, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is something that makes a lot of businesses work. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of businesses don't work, is that nobody's willing to, have a marketing budget of any kind most of the time. That's what I find with my clients.
I found it really interesting because it doesn't tend to work that way in B2B, particularly.
No, you're very right.
Or does it, or should it? But my experience with B2B advertising is it doesn't really work that well.
No, it's hard. It's really tough
Yeah.
to make B2B work. I've experienced that a lot, and I know that B2C is much easier because you can go straight to the purchaser on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, particularly for physical products.
Also, it's normally a lower cost item, so it's easier for people to just take a punt on.
Yeah, impulse buy. Yeah. Okay, so this week then you're going to carry on researching that, and I'm going to find the angel list guy and
let's broaden our portfolios more.
Yeah, and let's have a look at some of the property funds as well. I'll contact Rob at Progressive and see what they've got, because I know that they're good guys. So,
what other ways have you invested in businesses? I mean, I've done it the other way around because I've built some and sold them.
I've always bootstrapped. Yeah, never sold one though. Interesting.
Oh yeah, it's a nice way to wrap things up. I like selling them.
Nice way to wrap things up with a check.
Yeah, but also it ends it. You know, it doesn't just like fold away.
Yes.
You know, the first business I sold for 500 quid and a couple of meals out.
Oh,
and
really?
Because I just wanted to get rid of it, but I still wanted the customers looked after.
Yeah.
So, and it was quite a lot of turnover.
What was that business then? What was that? What market sector was that in?
That was security antivirus software sales.
Oh, okay.
In the B2B market. Low margin, the way I'd set it up. High turnover, low margin.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of stress in terms of the pricing changed a lot.
Yeah.
So it was hard work to keep going. And I'd always wanted to cross-sell to the people I was selling to on that because it was kind of lead gen. But the other products I had went to a different person in the organization and the cross-selling never happened.
Right.
So it was like different market from the high profit stuff. Even though this bit was actually doing really well. So, you know, it was probably 70% of the company turnover, and I got rid of it for 500 quid.
It's supposed to be
and then the next year, my turnover was, I don't know, 40% of what it was previously, but the profit was 80% instead of 15.
Oh, nice. Much better.
Yeah, but it was a scary year.
There's been a few of those.
Yeah.
So, generally speaking, profit is a multiple. Sorry, purchase price is a multiple of profit. Generally, but anything between 1 to 3. But then automated online businesses can go for up to 15 times profit.
Yeah. So you've got process and how automated it is, but you've got recurring income. So the last business I sold, which was telecoms, was a great one for recurring income.
Yeah, that makes every business more valuable, doesn't it?
And it's a known market, so they've already got multiples. A lot of companies in the telecom space grow by buying companies. I took it to 4 and got 3 offers, you know, so everyone wanted it. Even the one that didn't put an offer in was just because they just spent a load of money.
Yeah, didn't have everything in the budget.
Yeah, basically, just felt poor.
Yeah. I've also started putting out the word I'm in Thomas and Penny Power's new networking group, and it's just limited to 100 people. And I think I'm 25, so nice, neat thing there for me. The OCD like the 25, and so I started putting the word out that I am looking for investments and or to get involved with businesses with complementary mailing lists. You know, so joint venture opportunities.
Yeah, so other ways of investing are things like joint ventures, which I've done a couple over the years. I have one live at the moment, which is in the CRM space, but I haven't had time to put sales effort in on that one.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? We're spreading ourselves too thin all the time. Every day I wake up.
This is why I'm excited about passive income.
Yes. Yes, that would be good, wouldn't it?
What's the other one? The other type of investing in business that often get asked for is to come on board and give you consulting and your advice in exchange for shares and equity. Have you ever done that?
I'm very interested in that idea, becoming a non-exec director, because but I definitely wouldn't go for equity initially. What I'd go for is a percentage of uplift of turnover for at least a year, with a buyout clause. So ideally,
that's good. But what if they come to you before they're even generating income?
Well, unless you can see a quick route to income, I wouldn't be getting involved, because the thing is, your time is the thing that gets more increasingly valuable, isn't it?
It is. So 2 years ago, I'd worked with one for about a year on this basis, and then I'm using too much time on this.
Yeah.
It's going to be at least a year until they get the big funding and so on. They had just got their first client, and I could see it was going to take more
Proof
work.
of concept, yeah.
Yeah, a good proof of concept, actually. But I was really busy. So I stepped back from that, and they've since got a lot of money in, and they're in a really high growth market. And it could easily have been worse that year. Now I'm working with another one, which I've probably been working with for a year. Their go live date is not until mid 2022.
Okay, that's a long time.
It is, yeah, but it's a big project.
Well, I think you don't have to wait for them to go public. Or get into the first round of investing.
Product launch mid 2022.
Okay, that's a long product launch, isn't it? Is there any other way they can make money in the meantime?
Not really the way they're going. They're like stealth startup.
So how are they funding themselves then?
Investment
from
investors, angels
investors. Yeah, because it usually goes angels, doesn't it? Then VC, then public.
Yeah, then I don't think they're ready for VC. They're doing another tranche of angel.
Right.
To do the next bit.
And typically, because I love this idea. Typically, especially with my marketing skills, what typically is the angel investing? I mean, I know it says how long's a piece of string, but what kind of amounts are we looking at for angel investors there in the high tech space?
That one, the ones I'm aware of already, are in the $100,000 range.
Okay.
As investors in it.
Yeah.
So people are backing it with some serious money. So it looks like a good bet, and the people on it, involved are every single one. You'd be like, yeah, I'd happily run a business with that person with that track record. And there's 9 of you,
Yeah. So it's not. It isn't really. I mean, what we're trying to do here is think about this from someone who perhaps isn't willing to risk 100 grand, but might perhaps risk 10 grand or 5 grand or 15 or 20 or something around that sort of area. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's another way, isn't there? Because there's platforms like Funding Circle. There's quite a few of these where you can just lend money at a high interest rate. So you're not really taking advantage of the growth in shares, but you are making a good income.
Fundingcircle.com, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a bit like my peer-to-peer lending that I do at Zopa, which is person to person. This is person to business.
Okay. I love this idea because it's enabling business owners and businesses to not have to go anywhere near the banks.
Correct, which is why I first got into it years ago.
Because we're very anti-banks, aren't we, at the moment?
Anti-old school establishment banks.
Anti-old school establishment banks, exactly. So, especially when they start doing real shenanigans, like HSBC have started to make it difficult for people to onboard and offboard crypto payments, which is just completely ridiculous. And, that's just, especially as the banks are now starting to create digital currencies. And the other thing was the Robinhood app started selling people's shares yesterday.
Really?
Because they said it was too risky an investment because these buyers are not sophisticated investors. Yeah. So they actually started selling people's shares. Can you imagine the fury that would have caused? They'd really shoot themselves in the foot with that. Anyway, back to the investing.
Yeah.
So just something that popped in my head. So, okay, so we got Funding Circle and Zoopla, did you say?
No, I just said Funding Circle. You said.
Oh, no, what was the other one you mentioned? The one that you...
Zopa, my personal peer-to-peer.
I can never remember the name of that one. Is it Zopa.com?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It stands for Zone of Potential Agreement.
Okay. All right.
So like the zone in the middle between you and a lender, between you and a borrower, where there's a range of interest rates available.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't talk about that anymore, but I remember it from when they launched.
Yeah. I'm fundingcircle.com, and I'm going to find the other angel list, but there's an angel list. There's a TechCrunch article about angel list launching in the UK. So find that.
My only experience with Funding Circle, though, because I've not lent through it, is one of my clients borrowed like £60,000 through Funding Circle, so that was a success story. But then they went bust and they never repaid it.
Ooh.
So my only experience is the negative.
Yeah, but they must be in the minority. It must be like
I would have thought so.
Insurance and odds correlation, actuaries making deeply complicated calculations.
Well, here's the thing. As always, you're spreading your risk. So you should have only lent £100 of that 60,000, and the rest of it is spread across other companies which did repay.
Well, I've learned from kiva.org, KIVA, where you're lending to micro entrepreneurs all world, that 80% of the loans are repaid.
Yeah. So you've got to, for each different type of market or where you're working, there's going to be different rates. So one of the things I look at is, there were some great articles about like this crowdfunding and property stuff, and one of the things, and what you're looking for from the platform is like their credit risk, how they analyze the projects they look at. Yeah. So you might have, one of the platforms would only ever lend maximum 50%. Yeah, and the other developer or whoever is already put in 50%, basically.
Yeah. Or has private angels that have invested the other 50%. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this goes on in property in good times, and I have also seen it go horribly, horribly wrong when sudden credit crunches happen, particularly when the banks and building societies withdraw their offers of mortgage, and the project's got to a crucial point and is relying on that mortgage to repay the investors.
Yeah, this is interesting. One of the crowdfunding sites for the property talks about this. So say you're one of 100 people and there's an issue with the property, subsidence or whatever, and they've got to sort it out if you want to make your money back. Then, although it might cost £20,000 to repay, to fix, it's actually
not much between all those people.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, okay, it's a month's rent or whatever. Yeah, put that in. Whereas if it was 20 grand that hit you on your own,
then because what happened in November 2009 was one of my property investor friends had 18 mortgages that had previously been approved, rescinded on the same day. 18 on the same day. So, the banks just pulled the plug and left all these property investors and developers hanging high and dry.
So this is interesting. These ones I'm looking at, there's no mortgage. You are, between the 100 of you, buying the whole place.
I love that idea. Much better.
Yeah. Which is why the margins are then reasonable, the return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're acting as the bank, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Much less, much more anti-fragile. And that's what time for things are, because that experience in 2009, 2010 was horrendous on lots of different levels for me and for people I know. So anti-fragile is the way forward. Yeah. Well, you must send those details over. I'd be really interested in having a look at that, where you end up owning a bit of the limited company.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Isn't it? I think, as far as I can see, it takes time to build up your portfolio, because they might only get 1 or 2 properties in a month. And you don't want to put all your funds in one. You only want to put £500 or £1,000. So even if you've got like 10 grand to invest, it might take you a year to be fully invested.
Yeah.
If you want to spread your risk.
Yeah. I'll be very interested to see how some of the people I know who are still very successful in property are doing it. So people like Simon Zucchi, I mean, he's a man who knows property. Whoa. He's just sold his PIN, Property Investors Network. He set up one in, where I can't remember where his first one was, but then he franchised it around the country, and lots of property investors go to these PIN meetings every month, and he's just sold it out to the guy who invented wealth dynamics, actually, Roger Hamilton, the Malaysian entrepreneur, and he's just bought Simon out. I think Simon must have been in Roger's mastermind group or something, so he knew. So he's just sold his company for multi-millions and just got married this week. Bless him. Simon's a lovely man.
Oh, that's a nice good news story.
Yeah, I like good news stories occasionally to cleanse the palate. Oh my God. Okay, so I think we're good. I think we're good on time, and we've covered this. So if anyone's watching, feel free to say hi in the chat. Do feel free
Yeah, and do
to
feel free to ask Nicola to begin a non-exec.
yeah. Well, if you need marketing, yes. If you need tech, Pete's your man. And research,
If you
by
need
the way.
and gamification, come on.
Well, gamification, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, Pete, you've really, really got to get on Clubhouse, because they were talking about gamification the other night in a business room I was in. And you really need to step in and claim that space and be the expert for gamification on Clubhouse.
All right then, send me a free iPhone. I think is it the 12? Is that out now?
You could just get one secondhand on eBay or something.
What?
Come on, Pete. They're going to open it up to Android soon, and you need to be the gamification person before anyone else.
Okay.
Really, and it's good. It's good fun to listen to as well. It's like listening to the radio, but lots of different people talking. And even when you're listening, people start following you, because if you're followed by any of the speakers, you get put in this next section that says followed by the speakers. So while everyone's listening, they're all browsing everyone's profiles and following people they're interested in.
It's good to give them something to do visually.
Yes, exactly.
So hang on. So now I've got to buy an iPhone and a treadmill so I can walk and exercise while listening to it.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to buy a new iPhone though, do you? You could just get an old iPad. It can't be too old though, apparently, because the Clubhouse app only runs on recent ones.
There you go. See
what? See what?
Always got to buy the new one.
Well, it would be a business tax deductible. So stop your moaning and get onto Clubhouse. So what are you looking forward to this week?
This week, I'm looking forward to running the second session of my export leaders group.
How did the first one go? Did we hear?
Yeah, it was great. I've had some great feedback since, actually.
Oh, awesome.
So people are excited about getting started on really going to town on their exporting journey and doing it bigger and better. This coming week, I'm also wrapping up. I've been tutoring a group of master's students from a university called ESCP who've been doing a really amazing job, a project for an actual real client company researching, in essence, an aspect of the video games industry, which has been fascinating, but it's been really enjoyable to watch the level they're performing at. Yeah. If I needed to recruit people, I could just go and recruit these 7 people on this team. It's excellent, you know. And they're finishing up this coming week with their final presentation to the client, and I'm excited to see how that goes. Yeah,
I was in a room in Clubhouse the other night, and one of the big multimillionaire guys, I can't remember who it was, Shark Tank sort of level, was talking about how he loves doing conferences and workshops because he sees the bright talent coming through and he can just pick them off one by as they come through. And that's one of the reasons that he does live events, to be able to look people in the eye and see their spark of life.
That's a nice idea. I like that.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it as well, aren't you, on Zoom? You don't have to do it in live. I am missing live events now, though. I'd like to. I should be on a cruise ship in the Caribbean now.
Oh, it's that time of year.
Yeah, it is, and all my Facebook memories. I was in Mexico that year, across America that year. I was in Costa Rica that year. It's like, oh God, I can't bear it.
You're missing was it the Internet Marketers Cruise or something?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. And all the Facebook memories are coming up. But
so, what are you doing instead? You're gonna have a virtual tour of a cruise ship on a screen in front of you as you're walking on your treadmill?
I'm having a virtual reunion this week. So at least I'll get to talk to all the people that I would meet there. Anything else happening this week for you?
For me, I'll be looking forward to seeing what country we draw out of the jar next.
Oh, I'm on the edge of my seat, Pete.
I'll tell you what, though, when we managed Lesotho, we were like, we could probably do any country. We'll make a way to find it work.
Yeah, absolutely. You've just got to be flexible, haven't you?
What are you up to for this next week?
Well, I did think of something to tell you, and it's gone completely out of my head.
Well, you got the reunion.
Yes.
You've got a spare part, hopefully arriving from Amazon.
Oh, yes. And I'm going to get this up quickly onto YouTube because it's got all the hot key phrases in it, like Clubhouse and Gamestop and all that stuff. So, I tell you what, I'm also looking forward to having the time, because I did my challenge this week. Was it last week?
How many people signed up?
About 110 people signed up. About 60 people moved over to the Facebook group, and about 10 to 12 really engaged, which unfortunately isn't enough to expect a sale from. But I have got half a sale, because I've got one person who says they definitely want to start in March. And although I wouldn't normally count that, she is a friend of my daughter's.
So, yeah, she'll probably happen.
I think she's quite likely to do it. And she had a great challenge as well. She really participated. And I gave her lots of interesting advice about how to work out how much you can afford to spend on marketing based on the average client, because they've got a recurring income product. It's actually a fresh delivery box of food. But so, I've helped them work out what they might be able to afford to spend per
You just reminded me of one other thing I've got coming this coming week, which is my sister for Christmas. She asked for 3 business mentoring sessions from me for her new business. And the first one's going to be,
Well,
the first one's this coming week.
Oh, wow, that is cool, because normally a prophet is not appreciated in his own village. And,
very true. Yeah.
So it's nice that she's recognised that you might be a good person to talk to. Oh, the other thing I remembered is, that webinar I did for Gareth. Was it Gareth? Your Jess?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I've had the recording of that back. So I'm looking into turning that into a pop-up product, how to create profitable courses that sell before you've done all the work, or something like that.
Perfect. What a great idea.
I'll come up with a catchy title.
It wasn't bad, though. Tells you what it is.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, but I've got to chop out that man who got a bit rude in the middle.
Yeah, so, leave it in for fun.
A bit of editing required. So, yeah, lots to look forward to, and I'm feeling quite perky this week. I'm going to order another naked wine box as well.
Ooh, that's always a good day.
Yeah, exactly. Choosing wines from around the world. Lovely. Okay, I'll see you next week then.
All right, see you next week, everyone. Have fun.
Bye. Bye. You're listening to the Poke It podcast with Pete Jenkins and Nicola Cairncross. You can find Pete at gamificationplus.uk, and you can find Nicola at clicksandleads.com. And do come and join our private Facebook group. Just search Poke It Podcast on Facebook.